Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to discuss something on. It's going to be a slightly longish discussion today. We are going to discuss about financial planning, part of retirement planning, and if you're getting some kind of a lump sum on retirement, what are the places where you can invest that and how it can be helpful to you. So that's how we're going to address today's topic. I'll be using a presentation for aiding myself and also for the audience. So, what's the problem statement about which we are going to have a discussion today? The problem statement is that we'll work for approximately 30 to 32 years. That's not just for officers of the armed forces, that's a general working life. So people get into I'm talking about the white collar people who get educated and work. They enter the workforce at an age of around 23, 24, 25, in case of some professions, even late. And then they work till 60, 65. So that's approximately 30 to 34, 35 years of work. And in this 35 years, you have to cater for approximately 85 years of life. Yes, initially, till the time you're a student, you're studying, your expenses are handled by your parents. But then that is the similar obligation on you. You also need to provide for your children. So in 32 years, you have to now plan your finances in a way that you are able to provide for at least 85 years. And out of whatever you earn, you will be paying approximately, on an average, 20% towards taxes, and whatever you earn, at least 50% is what you consume on a regular basis. So if your monthly income is X by 2 is what you consume in, and that's for people who are quite disciplined in terms of their finances. So X by 2 is what you consume for managing your life or managing your month on month, week on week expenses, and 20% goes towards taxes. So, practically speaking, it's about 30% of your total incomes earned over the period of 30 to 32 years, from which you have to meet obligations other than your day to day expenses. That's the problem, or that is the challenge when, that's the challenge you have to address when you're looking at doing financial planning for yourself. And that is how you should be selecting your prioritizing your different goals depending on what kind of a financial situation you are in. So moving on, and today's discussion, there'll be a bias towards the service officers. So there would be individuals here who are not from the services. They will have some getaways, but the major takeaways would be for services officers. So what are your biggest enemies when you are planning your finances, or things which, 20% straight away you can say as a broad figure would go towards taxes, and this is after the fact that you have catered for or you have utilized the government allowed tax exemptions under various headings or various rules. And inflation, of course, with every passing year, inflation can be understood in various ways. The simplest is that cost of money is, whatever your money is by today, it is going to be more dearer to you next year. So अगर आपको गवर्नमेंट हर साल एक डीएनएस अलाउंस देती है, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आपकी तनख्वाह बढ़ रही है, उतनी महंगाई भी बढ़ रही है. So you are at par. Therefore, whatever you earn, whatever you invest, your investments should earn for you inflation plus 5 to 7%, so that you are able to achieve financial sufficiency. The central idea is financial sufficiency and being able to meet financial obligations. And what are your skills? The first skill and these are the skills which can be developed. These are mental skills, and you'll have to work on them in terms of actually your mind to focus on the and develop these skills. First is patience. You will have to be patient when it comes to your financial planning. Trying to be a rate chaser, and I say this again and again, even if you have started late, don't be a rate chaser. Reduce your goal and don't be a rate chaser. Be consistent. Take lesser breaks, be more in your investments, but trying to chase rates which are not practically feasible for most of the passive investors or retail investors who are otherwise actively engaged in other professions becomes a recipe for financial disasters. Don't do that. And equanimity. When I say there are going to be times of market implies that there are going to be times of dips and highs, basically demand variations and accordingly mood variations. So in spite of those dips, in spite of those highs, over a period of time, you have to maintain and you have to understand that this is how things are going to be, and this you will not let it impact. You will not let this impact your investments. You will not let this impact your choices, and you will stay with your investments. Neither feel too happy about it. Yes, yes, yes. Nor feel too sad about it, and continue in the journey. That is the most important part. And so these three things, these three mental qualities is what you'll have to develop to be able to meet your financial obligations and goals. Today I have kept this thing as the upfront. अगर आप कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट को समझ जाते हैं तो आगे की जो बची हुई प्रेजेंटेशन है या जो बची हुई मेरी बातचीत है उसे आप नहीं भी समझे, it will actually not make a difference. This is a formula which is not just applicable to finance, this is applicable to everything. All progress is all about iteration and time. जितना आप iterate कर रहे हैं, एक एक करके steps को add कर रहे हैं, और जितना आप एक चीज के अंदर फोकस होकर के समय लगा रहे हैं. So now if we understand it in terms of finance, और इसको ऐसे समझें, although there are four factors to it, A is the end result, so that's the outcome, the left hand side of the equation. Let's ignore that for a while. P, principle. आप जितना ज्यादा पैसा इन्वेस्ट कर पाते हैं, the younger you are, the lower your liabilities are. Try and save more. आप जितना सेविंग ज्यादा करेंगे, जितना आपका प्रिंसिपल बढ़ेगा, वो अल्टीमेटली मल्टीप्लाई होगा रेट ऑफ रिटर्न से, which is 1 plus r by 100, and then the years for which your money has been allowed to compound. So that means all these factors are important. प्रिंसिपल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अगर आज मैं 100 रुपए कमाता हूँ और मैं 30 रुपए इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ विज वी अनदर पर्सन हु इज अ मोर, आई वुड से मोर प्रूडेंट सेवर एज कंपेयर टू मी, और अगर वो 40 रुपए लगा रहा है तो वो मेरे से सेम रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में सेम टाइम के बावजूद मुझसे ज्यादा पैसा, उसकी वेल्थ मुझसे ज्यादा होगी. इट इज नो, बट लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स पीपल टेंड टू फॉरगेट द फैक्ट that principal investment saving is the first step, investment is the second step. So don't forget the first step, principal or original value, the investment you make. Bigger the principal, better the returns, more the wealth, richer you will be. Second is the rate of interest per annum. Yes, but rate of interest के चक्कर में ऐसा ना हो कि आप गड़बड़ कर दें. And I'll draw a comparison here. Let's say you have to go for a long journey. For example, you decide one day to travel from Srinagar to the southern point of India, Rameshwaram. And it's a long journey. So you'll have to plan a lot of logistics. You're not aware of the road conditions. Your vehicle may be new, may be old. So there can be a lot of factors which are in control, which are out of your control. But rate of return is equivalent to the speed at which your vehicle moves and your skill as a driver, your physical condition as a driver, the weather around as a driver. So if you're driving too fast, the chances of an accident are very high. If you're driving too slow, the chances of missing or being able to reach the destination in a stipulated time are also poor. But if I have to take an option, if I have to make a choice between an average rate of return and being slower vis-a-vis a faster rate of return and meeting an accident, I'll choose the first one. Therefore, don't be a rate chaser. I'm not saying go into very, very traditional instruments like a fixed deposit, put all your money. No, some part of it can be there, but not the majority. You should be looking at growth-based investments like equities, real estate, etc. But do not try to trade. Do not try to become too smart or smarter than the market. You will not be able to do that. You do not have that kind of a time. Do not fall prey to people like me or my counterparts in the industry who promise you very high returns. Very high returns also come with very high risk. I can say it as a matter of, as a rule of thumb, that anyone promising you more than 15% return is going to get into a risky territory, and to be able to sustain those kind of returns over a long period of time is very, very difficult. The smartest of the investor in the world, I am not saying he's the smartest. The world acknowledges him to be the smartest, which is Warren Buffett. In his almost 40 years of investment career, has averaged approximately 21.7% of compounded return. If the smartest of the person whose only job was being an investor, and he started his investment, who filed his first tax return at the age of 13, that was the level of financial awareness, who started his investment journey in his teens, was managing money for people in his 20s. If he could not go beyond a compounded return of 21.6%, then a person of my caliber or my equivalent caliber, if they offer you anything more than 15%, they are basically trying to get your business with no idea as to what will happen to your money. Please avoid such people, including me, if that is a promise. So don't be a rate chaser. Do have a consistent rate of return. Be there, be balanced, but don't just chase rates and get into very, very risky situations. And N is what actually is the exponential factor, something which compounds. And I'll give it by a mathematical example. Let us say you are invested in an asset which gives you a 15% compounded annual average growth rate, and you stay invested for a 20-year period, vis-a-vis someone who is invested for 10-year period in a asset which returns 25% compounded. So the gap is 25% and 20%. For this person who is averaging 25%, his money is going to double in approximately 3 years. That, and your money is going to double in 5 years at 15%. So if you have invested say 1 lakh rupees, at the end of 20 years, by your 1 lakh would be 2, 4, 8, 16 lakhs. At the end of 10 years, this person's one would still be 1, 2, 4, 8. So he or she is going to be half of where you are, in spite of the fact that the rate of return is 10%, in spite of the fact that that is a non-sustainable rate of return, and in spite of the fact that there are huge risks to this person. So stay invested for as long as you can, and that is how you'll be able to take care of your financial obligations and meet your financial goals. Now, what are the 5 basic objectives when you're doing a retirement planning, or so as to say when you're doing a financial planning? I would say all financial planning kind of converges to retirement planning for a very simple reason. Till the time you're working, you are working. So you are managing your day-to-day expenses, your daily life by the regular income which you're making from your work. What are the 5 broad objectives of retirement planning? The 5 broad objectives, as I brought out first: inflation protection. You need to make sure that whatever investments you're making have an protection from inflation at least by 4 to 7%. So whatever is the rate, the general rate of inflation has been around 5 to 6%. So your investment should yield you around anything from 10 to 15% on an average. Only then you'll be able to meet your financial obligations towards the different financial goals an individual or a household may have. Second, tax efficiency. When you're planning your financial, I mean, where to invest, what to invest, how much to invest, please be tax efficient. You cannot be tax zero. I mean, tax evasion is not possible and should not be practiced. Being tax zero is not possible. You will have to pay some taxes if you're making some money, but you can be tax efficient by understanding how much money is made, by understanding विकास सर मैं क्वेश्चंस वगैरह बाद में लूंगा थोड़ा सा you'll have to spend some time with me and then I'll take questions. So by understanding the tax efficiency, by understanding what are the various provisions under which you can save taxes, different tax exemptions, you should try and maximize your tax efficiency. Whatever is legally possible that can be saved should be saved. Next is financial sufficiency. What is the idea of financial sufficiency? Financial sufficiency is to understand how much I will need when I will need for a particular obligation, and I should have sufficient money to be able to meet that obligation. For example, my daughter, who is now the elder one is 8, the younger one is say 6 months. I know that after 10 years for my elder one and after 18 years for my younger one, I'll need money for their higher education. How much that money would be, I need to understand it today. Make a and on all these can things can be easily done through a basic Excel sheet. No one needs to be MBA finance or a chartered accountant for that. Put a figure of what probably say IT education today cost or foreign education today cost. Take an approximation of 6 to 7% of an inflation. Extrapolate it for 17, 18, 15 years, 10 years. In my case, it would be 10 and 18. And understand how much money would be needed then. And then accordingly set up an asset to meet that goal. And that is how you'll be financially sufficient. The next objective is ease and comfort. Whenever you are making an investment, the idea of the investment is to make your life easy, not to give you stress, not to take you away from your main profession, not to create challenges for you otherwise. So if you're getting into instruments which are very, very volatile, where and equity for that matter is not an instrument which is volatile. Equity has very short-term volatility. Volatilities are more if so as to say, the market has its own ups and downs, but over a period of time, equities tend to they don't go down beyond a level which they've achieved once the underlying business has achieved a certain measure of profit. There are instruments which are extremely volatile, or rather to stay very, very speculative, and those add a lot of stress to your uh, investment journey and they should be avoided. For example, I'm surprised to see a lot of salaried class people doing trading in FNO and cryptos. I am of a very firm opinion they should be avoided. Not even as a side effort, not even कि मैं थोड़ा सा लगा के देख लेता हूँ. In my opinion, I will come across as very, very old-fashioned, ancient, conservative, but that's a blanket suggestion I would make. So make your investments so that your investments are not taking away all your focus, time, and energy. They are there to serve a purpose. The purpose of life is not to just make investments. Finally, capital preservation. Wherever you invest, you should make sure that your capital is not lost. Making investments in any kind of a asset where your capital can be lost is simple foolhardiness, whatever may be the rate of return promised to you. And I'll give this again by an example. Let's say you invest 100 rupees, and let's say there are two individuals, A and B. Individual A invests in a instrument where he or she knows that the 10% return is almost kind of workable after 5 years compounded. So after the first year, this individual from 100 he goes to 110. The other individual has invested in a instrument where there is a iffy. The other person has been told कि आपको 25% return मिल सकता है, but loss भी हो सकता है. And in the first year, this person loses say 10% of the capital. The capital is now to 90. So now 90 to 110 also the individual needs 22, 23% of return. So loss of capital is not an acceptable proposition in any kind of class. You should avoid such asset classes in spite of whatever the return may be promised to you. So avoid speculation. What is the recommended investment strategy for meeting the five broad objectives? How do you achieve those five broad objectives which we discussed in the last slide? One, goal setting. Selection and maintenance of aim. Find your goals. Your broadly speaking, there are 4 or 5 financial goals: buying a house, providing for your kids' education, providing for your kids' marriage if you decide to do that, and having a healthy, financially healthy retirement life. For the financially healthy retirement life, you need to start as early as possible. This would be especially applicable to those who do not have a government pension. If you are someone who is not going to be in receipt of a government pension, your priority one should be buying a house for yourself so that at your old age you have a roof over your head, and that house can be anywhere, not necessarily in a metro station. You can be working in a metro city, your house can be in Firozpur, but you should have a house. The second priority has to be your pension when you are not able to work and not able to earn. Only after that, the third priority should be kids' education and marriage. In that order, this is for those who are goal setting, for those who do not have pensions. For others, it is slightly different. The priorities can change. Diversification. Diversification is how you will achieve, you'll be able to manage the volatility or too much of the distribution of risk. As Buffett says, that when diversification is like doing a good insurance, because whatever investments you are making, there are going to be certain losses. You cannot be in a situation wherein if you're driving at a certain speed, then you're not going to have flat tires, or you have to avoid fatal accidents, so you don't have to drive too fast. But you cannot be so slow that your goals are not achieved. Therefore, if you're driving at a certain speed, which is higher, then there are going to be skirmishes, there are going to be dents, there are going to be fender benders. Therefore, to make sure that those things are not going to be fatal, you need to have protections. And that protection is diversification, wherein you kind of distribute your risk by understanding what kind of challenges are there. And that distribution of risk is what affords you that even if there are losses in some of your investments, the gains in the other kind of average out your returns, and that is what diversification helps you achieve. What then you should have tailored portfolios, the portfolios which meet your particular requirements. Every individual has a different particular context and a different particular financial situation. Please try and sit with your financial advisor. Tailor your portfolios to meet your financial requirements. Do not go to the general, very generic WhatsApp available or Google available information and start making your investments like that. Rebalancing. Now, rebalancing does not mean trading. A lot of people assume that rebalancing implies आज इंटरेस्ट रेट कम हुआ तो मुझे अचानक से अपना डेट पोर्टफोलियो को शिफ्ट करके और इक्विटी में डालना नहीं. But you have to understand broad trends. You have to understand, you have to do periodic review, and if need be, you have to make some shifts in your asset allocation. Hybrid of growth with safety. This is how you will achieve a rate of return which is going to help you meet your objectives and also still keep you grounded and not make you lose. So that's how you'll achieve the five objectives of financial listening. How do we go about it? I mean, I'll say, how should you go about it, or how do we go about it? First, data collection. Start with collecting the basic data. Understand what is your how much are your incomes, what. So once you have that data in place, process your data, assess your risk, what kind of a risk you can take. And assessing a risk does not imply that you lose money. Assessing risk implies that how much equity exposure you will take, what kind of a time you have available. If you have more time available to meet certain goals, then you can meet more volatile real estate activity. Discussion of goals with our clients, that is what we do at stage one. Then we process the data and we provide them the first financial plan, the first draft as a step two. And this is what you should be doing with any financial advisor you engage. Step two, once you have the financial plan in place in front of you, you provide feedback on to your advisor as to what suits you or does not suit you. And then you have a final plan in front of you, which is like, kind of wherein you start executing. Step three is when then you, based on your financial plan, you start setting up your investments. You go ahead and start your systematic investment plans, or if you are doing a lump sum investment, and put some money in a STP and then transfer it to the various pre-accepted instruments. And so the part three is the execution of the financial plan. Part four is evaluation. After every periodic time, you evaluate, manage the performance on an ongoing basis. And part 5 is rebalancing and coming back to part 3 again and again. So that's how at least we go for our clients. Although this is much more detailed when it is executed, but this is a snapshot of as to how you should be going with your financial, I mean, your advisor or your financial planner. You can take a screenshot of this if you wish to, or maybe click a photograph. Although you will be able to see this video on our channel as well. Coming next, I'll share some very basic Excel sheets which we initially work with our clients, or we just help them, or rather share with them, so that they're able to do it on a do-it-yourself basis. The first one is a personal expense and income sheet. I would very strongly recommend that every individual should have this at least as a monthly exercise. Whatever you are doing, whatever you are trying to do, what kind of expenses you have. So this is the left side of the equation, and this gives you, once you start doing it on a regular basis, you will realize there are some patterns in your expenses, and there are a lot of expenses which you can either do away with or completely, I mean, you can either make them zero or reduce. And this sheet is essentially an exercise to trouble our clients, and I'm using the word trouble our clients, so that they are able to see some expenses which can be either avoided or reduced, and they can enhance their savings. The idea of this particular sheet is to give the client a kind of a reality check. Numbers don't lie. When you consistently look at your own expense and income sheets over a period of time, you realize where you are going wrong, what you're doing right. So that's the first step. Whenever you're doing your financial planning, the first step is understanding where you stand, what your current financial situation is. Then what is the second step? The second step is, we have this financial success do-it-yourself sheet which we share with our clients. In this, we kind of help them understand as to, and this is a sheet we share with all our clients, wherein we send it to them. They kind of do a self-assessment as to where they are in terms of investments, and what kind of investments they can be looking at to meet their different goals. And all these are, I would say, this is kind of when our investors have, or our clients have a first meeting with us, we give them all these tools without any hassles or charges, so that they can understand where they are and then accordingly take more informed decisions. The third sheet which is there is for individuals who are retiring now and who have a lump sum kind of money coming to them. So this is again a very, very broad figure, wherein they can understand there are three different suggested things. If you are having, if you have, let's say, 1 crore to invest, and if you have been a very conservative investment portfolio has been designed for you, then if you have 45 lakh rupees invested in equity, real estate, or a mixture of both, debt around 30 lakh, gold is 15 lakh. Gold is usually suggested through a sovereign gold bond. Liquid is around 10 lakh. Liquid can be in a simple bank fixed deposit, or as a part of savings account. Then your expected returns from your portfolio post tax is approximately 10.5% over a long period average. Similarly, for a moderate, you can target around 11.5 to 12% return, and for aggressive investment portfolio, anything from 13 to 15%. We do not recommend having portfolios more aggressive than that. There are people who suggest that. My advice, please go to them. I am happy with a smaller pool of clients, but we want to make sure that our clients are never going to lose their money. That's the first principle we work on, and give them a moderate rate of return by which they would be able to achieve their financial goals. That's how we have worked on our financial strategy for our clients. Goal setting, there are, broadly speaking, this is for retirement, four stages, wherein till 45 you're too busy just building up your assets. After 45 you start discharging your obligations, and you're also at the peak of your financial capacity. Most of us start peaking at around 45 in terms of the money we earn, except for professionals or business owners, wherein their businesses can take another 5-7 years to start giving them extraordinary returns. But for the salaried employees, their peak starts around 45 in terms of their earning potential, and they would be able to earn the. I mean, that's where they start building their professional this thing. 55 to 65 is when you are discharging obligations further. Your kids have now reached an age wherein they'll start entering the workforce or their educations are about to finish. And then you yourself are in a pre-retirement age. 65 to 75 is early retirement. You have kind of now stopped working, or your work is not the major source of earning for you. And 75 to 85 is late retirement, wherein your physical capacity are fairly diminished, and your major source of incomes is either your assets or a combination of pension plus assets. I'll skip this one. Now, suggested assets or the different instruments in terms of asset allocation. Whenever you are doing an asset allocation, go back to where you have to decide how much to put in what. The growth-based assets or instruments which will give you growth to be able to achieve financial sufficiencies, either going to be equities or real estate. I am personally neutral when it comes to both these asset classes. It depends on the investor's personal choices, understanding of the asset class, how much time the investor has, and what kind of school of thought the investor comes from. The returns are almost at par if done properly. And then stability to your portfolio will come from debt or debt-based funds, government bonds. If you are younger, then from instruments like your PFs and PPFs, etc. When you are doing a lump sum investment, try and spread it through systematic transfer plan so that your short-term volatility does not hamper your investments. So these are suggested assets, oblique instruments when you are doing your asset allocation with your financial advisor. Monitoring and rebalancing. Whenever you are monitoring or rebalancing your portfolios at the end of a year, 6 months, if there have been too many things which have happened over a period of 6 months or 1 year, then you should make sure that if I mean basically the rate of interest and the market forces what should help you in terms of rebalancing or monitoring and rebalancing your portfolios. This is more applicable when you have stopped earning and now your assets are what is going to provide you capital sufficiency. So at no point you can be without capital. So at times it would be required that you transfer your money from your equities of the real estate by selling them to your debt-based investment so that you have a regular cash flows coming to you. I have been asked this question often. Should I be investing in equity of the real estate at any stage? Okay. The younger you are, more the need for investing in these two particular investment classes, because growth is needed for long-term capital preservation and accumulation. The debt instruments, which include PF investments or other government instruments, will not be able to suffice in terms of providing you enough accumulated capital so that you are able to meet your financial obligations. So, equity and real estate, either of them or both of them, are essential and have to be included in your financial planning for long term capital preservation and accumulation. You cannot protect or you cannot create enough of wealth and fight inflation without getting into equity or real estate. Dividends and rentals also are another way of generating regular income for your retirement ages. So, if you have invested properly in equities, whether direct or through mutual funds, over a period of time, you will realize that your dividend incomes also are a very, very sufficient source of returns for augmenting either your pensions, or if you do not have a pension, then giving you a regular return. Similarly, rental incomes are also a very, very reliable way of providing you pension support. If you have chosen commercial real estate, then rental incomes can be equivalent of having invested in debt instruments, and capital appreciation can be very good. I mean, the capital appreciation can also be handsome and meet equity investments. But commercial real estate is a very, very complicated asset class. Please do not attempt it half-heartedly or without proper knowledge. Should I be buying life insurance? Assess your liabilities. Most of the officers, if you are a serving officer and if you are serving till the age of 54, 55, 56, most probably you do not need life insurance. If you are a short service officer, or if you are someone who's seeking a voluntary release after 20, 22 years of service, there might be a need for a life insurance, but that should only be pure lifetime insurance. Please avoid putting your money in endowment plans or ULIPs. In endowment plans, the general rate of return is around 5 to 6%. In ULIPs, the general rate of return is around 9 to 10%. They are actually poor combinations of insurance and investments both. So it is a straightaway recommendation as a rule of thumb. Insurance is not for investments. If there is a need, buy a pure lifetime insurance. There are some people who are extremely, I would say, gung ho on wanting to invest in insurances. Well, for them, all I have to say is if this is something you are doing in lieu of FDs, then maybe yes. But this is definitely not a substitute for your equity, oblique mutual fund, oblique real estate investments. Rest, it's your money. What are our recommendations on commutation of pension? Commutation is beneficial. The government, in fact, if you look at your retirement emoluments, probably commutation is the only benefit which the government is giving to you, or to some extent, gratuity. Accumulation of your leave is what you have foregone. It's your own money. DSOP is your own money. So commutation amount, when calculated, we did some calculations. I had also covered this in a video on the YouTube network of Value Talks. You can visit it there. Commutation amount, the rate of return, I mean the rate of interest which the government charges you for giving you the commuted amount is approximately 4 to 5%, which is a very attractive rate of cost of money. You can invest that money into very basic instruments and still end up making more money from that commuted amount. So commutation is recommended if you are able to, or if you wish to, and you have time on your hands, and if you are able to invest the commuted amount in equity or real estate, then it can be even more beneficial. The benefit can be even higher. And commuted amount, a recommendation is made here. Commuted amount can also be utilized to set off higher rate of interest loan. For example, if you have a home loan running, you are coming out at around 44, 5 years of age, then you can definitely use the commuted amount to set off or pay off a home loan. It would be a helpful proposition to you. There are some pensioners whose pension is exempt from income tax. Could be a gallantry award winner, could be someone who is in receipt of a pension due to disability, etc. Those people need to achieve a higher rate of return for meeting the cost of commutation. In that cases, to commute or not to commute should be discussed with your financial advisor, and only if you are able to invest your money in instruments where you have more than say 7 to 8% rate of return is where you should be then looking at commuting. Otherwise, those individuals who have tax-free pensions, they can take the decision not to commute. So recently, in the latest financial budget or the last financial bill, the finance minister has done away with the indexation benefits of debt funds. What was the indexation benefits earlier? If you had invested your money in a debt fund and stayed invested for 3 years or more, then the gain, whatever the total gain was, indexation could be reduced from that total gain, and then taxes were, then that money was added to your taxable income. So the tax outgo was slightly lesser on your debt fund incomes as compared to other debt instruments such as a fixed deposit or a corporate bond, etc. But now that benefit has been done away with. The question is, should an individual be investing in debt funds after the removal of tax benefit? Yes, broadly, especially if you're a retiree, because it does bring some amount of stability to your portfolio, especially if you have crossed 50, 55. I mean, once you're reaching your senior ages, it hedges you against inflation, and it is still relatively liquid. So it gives you the comfort of being able to withdraw your money in case need arises. So debt funds are not totally out of reckoning or out of consideration. A certain amount of sheen has been lost because of the indexation benefit being taken away, but they are not to be excluded because of this reason. from your investment planning. What can be a viable alternative to debt funds? I had covered a video on fractional ownership in commercial real estate. If you can get hold of a safe uh, commercial real estate with a fractional ownership kind of a arrangement wherein you invest 10, 20, 30 odd lakh rupees, then that can be a safe alternative to a debt fund because the rental yields can match the returns of a debt fund. There would be commercial appreciation happening to you, which would not, I mean, the capital appreciation happening to you, which would not be there in case of a debt fund. And in the indexation benefit still comes to you because real estate, the indexation benefit is still allowed. Should you be doing it? Again, depends on more deliberations, diligence, and having a conversation with your financial advisor. But this is an alternative. Recommendations when you're doing your financial planning at each and every stage, please include your spouse so that they are aware as to what is happening and you both are able to take collective decisions. Whatever your age is, try and bring your loan liabilities, including your home loan liabilities, reduced to 65 years. You should not be burdened or saddled with loans beyond 65 years of age. Prepare a list of your financial documents and keep them handy. We suggest our clients to start using basic technology, use a Google spreadsheet to just, create links and different details of your financial instruments, your bank accounts, your mutual fund portfolios, your real estate, what are the details of your real estate, and share it with your near and dear ones, especially your people who are supposed to be your inheritors or who are nominees, and keep them there so that people are able to utilize them. Reduce financial complexity. Don't have too many accounts, too many people. Select few people, work with them closely so that they understand you, you understand them. Use technology. Now, technology is cheaper, it is accessible, and it should be used to make your financial life easier. Recommendations for people who are 60 years old. Consolidate your real estate. If you have too many real estate at too many different places, now try and liquidate them, bring your money back to you. You can do away with real estate. If you don't need to start fresh at 60 years by investing in real estate. Even if you do, please try and bring your real estate within 50 kilometers of wherever you are, at most 100-kilometer radius of wherever you are living or staying. Prepare your will and get it registered. Start having fun. I mean, you're now 60 plus, worked hard, worked enough. And this is a recommendation for short service commission officers and also for individuals who are not in receipt of the government pension. Your primary challenge is creating assets for pensions. You should buy a house without delay to resolve one major question of your life. You should do this without any delay. I'm going to cover a recommendation which we have added today, which is something which we have worked in the last 2 odd months about buying a house. But this is a recommendation I would very strongly make for people who are who are short service commission officers. So work for your pensions without delay. Work for your house without delay. And you have to earn at least 40% more than your peers now once you are moving out of forge so that you are able to meet your financial obligations vis-a-vis your peers who will be getting the government pensions. Don't lose sight of this fact. So things are slightly more difficult for you, get tougher. Who are the people you will need for your financial planning? A financial advisor, a property broker, a reasonably priced advocate, and a reasonably priced chartered accountant. These are the four people you broadly need for working for your financial journey throughout your life. Get hold of them. The sooner you find reasonable people, the easier your task and executions would be. Now we are going to make this is something which we have added to today's session. So in last 15, 17 years of work in financial industry, in the real estate industry, we have come to a very, very sullen realization that, the top 5, 6 cities, which is NCR, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, they have kind of gone out of reach of upper echelon salary earning individual. I'm not even talking about the grade 3, grade 4 employees in government or in the private sector. I'm talking about the class one officers. I'm talking about the well-paid, uh, good college-educated corporate employees. The top five cities have now expanded to an extent that, even at 1 CR, which is a very big amount of money, the real estate available is on the fringes on is so, and this is a recommendation, especially for the armed forces officers. If you are a first-time home buyer, if you are wanting to buy a house for yourself, then you can very comfortably look at these three cities, which is Jaipur, Lucknow, and Bhopal, for buying a house for yourself. And it should give you a decent size, 1800 to 2000 square feet, well built, modern housing dwelling unit in a budget of around 80 to 1 CR, 80 lakh to 1 CR. In all these three cities, you will get decent cantonment support. Two of the cities, that's Jaipur and Lucknow, have commands, and Bhopal as a core. So you will get a good officer institute, so that you have a social life. You'll get a good golf course, so that you can go and pursue a hobby, and you'll get Fauji medical support. All these three cities are state capitals. So the law and order situation, the state administration, etc., is well taken care of. It may not be amiss to say that these are safe cities. The cities are well administered, so they provide you the comfort of living in a modern city. Connectivity wise, Jaipur is an international airport. Lucknow and Bhopal are also well connected with airports, so you are not too far away from your near and dear ones if they want to visit you or you want to visit them. They are well connected by railways, and all these three cities are well connected by a network of national highways. So, connectivity wise, these three cities are good. Law and administration have covered state capitals. Social and civil infrastructure, these all three cities, that's Bhopal, Jaipur, and Lucknow, are fairly old cities. They have well established medical institutions, tertiary care hospitals, medical colleges, their educational infrastructure for your kids. Even if you're serving, you want to let your family stay when you are in difficult or far flung areas or field postings, your kids will have access to some of the best education facilities. And these are old, vibrant cities with good cultural and historical heritage. The employment opportunities are growing. And when I say this, I would like to make a point here. It is not just the individuals who are feeling the heat of growing cost of real estate in the top five, six cities. Even the corporates are now feeling the heat of the growing cost of real estate in the top four, five cities, and it has started eating into their profits. So now corporates are looking at the next level of cities where they can start establishing businesses, and these businesses can be offices, the business can be factories in the outskirts of these cities. So these three cities have actually been earmarked by in a lot of industry journals, in a lot of industry media, as the next emerging metros. So the employment opportunities, especially for younger ones of you who are in their 30s, 40s and want to work after your uniform services, you will start getting employment opportunities in these three cities, which will match your status and as an armed forces officer. Price appreciation. Now the real estate in cities in these three cities, that is Bhopal, Jaipur, and Lucknow, has now started maturing, and people are getting handsome returns at par with the, if properly purchased, and at par with the metro cities. Budget, I've already covered. Within 80 lakh to 1 CR, you will be able to get very good housing options. So it is within reach of majority of government class 1 officers, class 2 officers, and also equivalent corporates. Ease of living, these cities still have low pollution levels, less traffic, and weather-wise, they are acceptable, good weather, especially Bhopal has very salubrious weather, it being in the central part of India. And Jaipur also offers you good weather because of it being in the Aravallis. We would strongly recommend that you start looking at these three cities for addressing your housing concerns if you are yet to buy a house. If you are yet to buy a house. This is an advertisement. Thank you for staying with me for last 55 minutes. I'm going to close this presentation, the monologue, and then take on questions. Why should you choose to work with us? Longevity in the industry. We have been in business since 2008. I can very safely say we are one of the few 4G driven financial real estate and financial advisory company which has been in the business for last almost 16, 17 years. Anyone who is now there, other than one of our competitor, is fairly new. So we have a much longer time duration, understanding of the asset classes, understanding of the market, understanding of individuals, understanding of the defense forces, understanding of the corporate. So our longevity in the industry gives us a lot of advantages, a lot of learnings, a lot of experience. Second, widest product mix. And this is something I can give it to you almost as an authority. No one, and I say this, no one has the availability of the products which we have. When I say this, let me list it for you. Our competition at Max has mutual funds. Our competition at Max has some of them have PMS, some of them have insurance. We have all kind of mutual funds. We have broker level insurance license. So we are tied up with all life insurance and health insurance companies. In real estate, we are very active in NCR, and now we are spreading to Chandigarh Tri-City. We are spreading to Bhopal, Lucknow, and Jaipur. Then we have PMS, we have direct equities. You can connect with us for any of the instruments. Our product mix is the widest. We are asset neutral, and that is one of the precise reasons as to why you'll not find us speaking in a biased manner कि ये खराब है, वो खराब है. For us, all asset classes have their pros and cons. We will have a detailed discussion with you, understand what suits you best, and accordingly suggest something which is going to be beneficial to you. We have a single point for all expert advice. When I say single point, does not mean single expert. I am not an expert in all the fields. We have different experts for different things, but single point. So at one point, you will be able to get a lot of advisory, and then we get into very detailed financial planning. Some of the clients engage us only for financial planning. They do their direct investments through directly going to different kind of apps, etc., and they engage us for only doing their financial planning, for which they can engage us for very acceptable sums of around 10,000-15,000 rupees a year, and we give them very detailed financial planning solutions. We generously use technology, not just internally. You get your login IDs, etc. The moment you sign up with us, you can access your portfolios, you can access your insurance. So we are, other than real estate, which is not possible to be digitized, all other financial instruments which we offer to our clients are completely digitized. And continuous hand-holding. We are there. We are not an app. We are human being based, humans based, personalized financial services company. So we will be there to review your portfolios on a regular basis and attend to you whenever you need. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with today's.
You gotta focus on yourself, on your faith, on your dreams, on your mind.